Let's go.
Have you ever been a part of a game like Saturday?
No, can't say that I have. It was wild to say the least. A lot of fun. Really proud of our kids, going out there and executing the way they did under it's different circumstances for sure. So it was fun to watch them play, and it was great to get a win. That was the most important thing, and so now we got to get ready for the Bulls here.
How do you keep the guys from not being too confident in going into a game when USF had a coaching change and all that stuff, coming off of shredding a Doug Belt defense too?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really think that the focus has got to be just like it was after tough losses maybe that we've had this year. Boy, you got to pick yourself up, learn from your mistakes, and you got to move on. So just there were things to learn from, believe it or not, on Saturday night where we, it was just one of those nights where everything clicked. But it's that you got to come in, you got to learn from that, you got to make sure that you're doing that. Obviously, there is a chaotic situation in Tampa. I feel for those guys. I've been on a staff that's happened to before, So it's but I think that can provide its own challenge from the standpoint of the preparation is going to be different. Obviously, there's going to be some off-schedule stuff. You really just don't know what to expect, and you got to make sure that you shore up your techniques and your fundamentals and make sure that you're operate at your base plan the best you can, and then react to what shows up. So.
The tight end coach and you feel a little bit of pride when you see 5 touchdowns come by a couple
I've
of those
never
guys.
been part of that, but those are nights I've dreamed about. But it was a lot of fun. I kept about halfway through the second quarter. I was like, dang, I think we scored 3 touchdowns. And then Ben caught another one, and then then in the second half it was a lot of fun. We like tight ends touchdowns, man. Wise lead away.
Since Tyler's kind of gotten this bigger opportunity, is there a sense that he's kind of set the tone for this offense?
I think there's no question. I think that he's kind of he's the closing time guy, right? He shows in there, and he's the wild animal that gets us all freaking moving, and he's the consummate warrior, right? And he shows up and he kind of paces himself through the first half, and then when it's time to step on their necks, then he's the guy that certainly leads the charge on that, And I think that. I can't say enough good things. I can't talk about it. I ain't near as tough as he is. We talk about toughness all the time, and that dude is rugged. He is rugged.
You mentioned that you've been on a part of a staff before where coaching changed mid-season. If you kind of look at the records this year, teams after they fire a coach are actually doing very well. I think it was like 93 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Don't quote me on that part. But long story short, why do you think that in the game after a firing, the teams have been playing?
Yeah, I didn't have that experience.
Oh, okay.
We got beat. The year that it happened to us was 2008. I was a GA on Coach Fulmer's staff at Tennessee, mm-hmm. and we got fired after the South Carolina game, which was like Halloween weekend, and we played Wyoming, which at that time was the worst college football team that I'd ever seen in my life. And they came into Neyland and beat us in Neyland, 14-13, scored on defense. It was awful. It was awful. And then we kind of recovered and won the 2 games after that. So I had a little different experience. Now that was a guy that had been there 17 years. I mean, there was just this total fog of depression that was over the program. Mm-hmm. They actually let Coach Fulmer finish the season, so it wasn't like they moved people out and did that. I do think that, I can only assume that there's a shot of energy that comes in, through that. Those everybody reads about coaches, and I don't know that there's a lot of sorrow paid to them, particularly when you look at their contracts and stuff. But those head coaching contracts are far different than the assistant coach contracts. So you got a whole group of guys down there that aren't on those multi-year, multi-million-dollar contracts that are fighting for. And those are real people now. You know what I mean? I got 5 kids, so I know. And I was a coach's kid. I've been on both ends of that, where you can do that they got to pick up and they got to move and they got to explain that to their wives and they got to, So I feel for those guys, and it's a tough situation. I know that they'll burst in. They're good coaches, and they got good players, and they'll show up ready to fight on Saturday. We can't sleep on that.
77 might be a high bar, but what does it do for the offense when you see how it can click and the points it can put up? I mean, does that really kind of, for the last 3 games, say, look, guys, we know you can do it now. You've shown it in a game against a pretty good defense.
Yeah,
keep doing it.
I was telling Coach after the game that y'all gonna be mad at us when we score 50 in one of these games coming up here. But it's I don't know that the score necessarily is reflective of that. I do think that we tried to emphasize the high level of execution. You know, this is something that we've been able to do, and we've done that. And even in times when it didn't execute, boy, it didn't hurt us this game, but this lack of execution can hurt us in the future. You know what I mean? I think we had some ball security issues down there on the goal line that didn't bite us this game, but you've seen countless opportunities where that's something that we've made a big point of emphasis this week. Man, we got to protect the ball crossing the goal line and doing some of those things to clean up. You know, I do think that there's certainly an element of confidence, right? Tanner brings this whole offense up, or she brings this whole offense up, and we can do that. So confidence matters. Confidence matters. When you think you're good and you're playing good, it can help you kind of get streaky, and I certainly hope that that's what it leads to, you know, but we're going to have to bear down. You know, I thought we had a slow start to practice today, but we finished well. We got to have a great practice tomorrow in order to, you know, it's a unique challenge this weekend. So,
did Jordan Curley kind of open things up even more for some of the guys with his return? I mean, it seems like his speed just adds another element.
Jordan's a different element for sure. Anytime that he can do, when he's healthy and when Moochie Dixon's healthy, and when they're, you know, it's everyone. We kind of collectively got a tick healthier between the Tulsa game and this past week, and I think that we all felt that Tuesday. Obviously, Tanner coming back was a big shot in the arm, and so, you know, getting those guys that have been through just kind of the grind of October, because it always is. You know, everyone counts this as the second month of the season, but it's really the third month of the season because of fall camp. So that's the hardest quarter, I think, of the whole season is October. So, you know, once we got those guys kind of back off and did that, and that kind of, I thought, raised the collective juice for everybody. Jordan is certainly a contributor to that, and those other guys that we got back to.
Got two more?
Damon Holgerson's called Tanner's performance the best performance he's ever seen by a college quarterback. Dumb question. When you're kind of looking back at the film, was Tanner just executing out of his mind, or was it there maybe some openings that he took advantage of? What do you make of just Tanner's performance?
No, Tanner was remarkable. He was unbelievable. He should have been player of the week more than once this year, but for sure this one. And their quarterback did a great job. I thought he was a fun guy to watch too. But no, and I think we've been saying it for the last month. You know, he kind of went through September and battled some things, you know, learning through this offense. And then if you remember 3 or 4 weeks ago, I said, man, this dude's playing at elite level. Now, it wasn't showing up necessarily with all the execution pieces and maybe some of the defenses that we were playing and everything, but as he kind of just kept putting it together, that was as elite a performance as I've ever seen. And it was some of his throws that he made. The last touchdown pass that he had to Ben Redding is like mind-blowing, how he was able to put it. I mean, it's 25-yard and hits him right in the belly button. I mean, it's unbelievable. You know, and his competitiveness on that third down run that he scored, and understanding the situation of the game. And I remember when I was a basketball player, getting streaky, and that goal gets real big, and it's real big for him out there right now, I think.